for joining us tonight, Ms. Gunn-Wright. It's a pleasure to have you. So first off, how are social justice and equities in housing, healthcare, and jobs related to environmental justice?
So environmental justice is really interesting because when we talk about environment, we generally have a really narrow conception, which is the natural world. But environmental justice is really about the built environment writ large and the ways that it has been designed to funnel pollution in particular, but more than pollution, sort of really like the bad things from our system into certain built environments, certain neighborhoods where certain people live and not others. Having energy efficient housing, right? Housing that is connected to solar panels and distributed energy, all of that is part of environmental justice because often those things are out of reach for people with lower incomes, especially if they're people of color, right? And also the housing in those neighborhoods is more likely to be older, right? To have lead or other environmental pollutants, right? To have in particular, like lots of gas hookups, gas stove, etc. Environmental justice means more pollution in certain neighborhoods. Black and Hispanic and indigenous folks are exposed to far more pollution than white people, right? At all income levels, actually. And so when you're talking about healthcare, that means that they often are going to have higher rates of illnesses that are related to pollution, asthma, heart disease, cancer, right? If you're gonna have people exposed to those sort of toxins and pollutants, not having access to healthcare is really, really dire, or having access to like poor healthcare where you have high deductibles, high costs, that means that people are facing either not having access or having access with huge costs and having mountains of medical debt just because of the places that they can afford to live and the places that they have been funneled because of histories of redlining, residential segregation, etc. If you actually change the built environments, if you have changes that make those places cleaner, healthier, then all the things that you listed, housing, jobs, healthcare, right? It gets a little better. And in reverse, if you improve healthcare, jobs, and housing, those places can also become better.
You were one of the architects of the Green New Deal. Can you briefly summarize its main points?
It started out as a framework and then a congressional resolution that was proposing a 10-year economic mobilization that was really centered on the idea that you can reduce emissions while also creating millions of good, high-quality jobs, often in places that don't have access to those, at the same time as you're increasing and advancing justice, particularly racial justice, but also gender justice, disability justice, right? That there is a way to structure this huge transition that we have to have away from fossil fuels and towards cleaner forms of energy, that there are ways to do that that actually empower folks that were disempowered and sort of give a lot of zhuzh to the economy. And so in the resolution, there were like a lot of, there were, I want to say like 10 buckets of national projects, from like agriculture to buildings to ecosystems, right? And another big part of it was also community and democratic participation and planning, right? The idea that there's going to be so many changes to even just the built environment that we're talking about, right? Like new wind and solar farms, people putting, solar panels on their homes, right? Changing the types of cars that they drive, hopefully having less driving overall, right? Maybe changing the ways that we do urban planning and like land use, right? There's going to be a lot of shifts, and people, everyday people, should have a say in what that looks like. Those were like the really big tenets: jobs, justice, obviously climate, but with a real focus on democratic participation, planning, and really how do we do all of this while moving us towards like a more just and equitable society, economy, and future.
Well, thank you again. It's been lovely speaking to you.
Oh, it's been wonderful speaking to you. Thank you.